A wonderful topic, Dr. Yasrib, to begin with. I mean, I like the title, "Exploring New Ventures." Now, ventures. These days, when I think of ventures, what comes to my mind are venture capitalists rather than ventures. Now, you'll say, where is he going? Because I'm being asked by my company to actually satisfy the venture capitalists, the investors in the company to get in funding. Now, what am I doing with funding? What is my role? But to actually say I'm working with a company called Scandinavian Chemotech, which is a company which is developing electrochemotherapy equipment, and they have a technology called tumor-specific electroporation, wherein we give almost 1,000 volts to a patient. Now you'll say, what are you doing? 1,000 volts to a patient? But that's a technology wherein you give it for a microsecond and you make the therapeutic drug to actually get into the cells, the tumor cells, and increase the pharmacokinetics, the intracellular pharmacokinetics of the drug. Now, therein, these are startup companies which are doing good research, which are actually developing the technologies. The pharma companies or the bigger business houses, which we know are more of marketing houses. The real research happens either in the universities, in the academia, or in the startups, which actually have an intention to get the bigger fish to actually eat them up, to actually get the bigger fish, the bigger companies to actually acquire them. So there, the role of professionals, even though you come from an academic background or you come from a scientific background, but you are expected to contribute on the economic front as well. You are expected to contribute on the financials of the company to get the funding for the work you're doing. So that's what actually interests me, the word ventures. So just seeding the thought in you that tomorrow when you are in your job, you may have a role into the financials of your company, in the financials of the workplace you're working. There's no free lunch, especially in India. So, so you have to contribute towards the businesses, the business houses you will be working for, in a very ethical and in a very scientific and an academic manner, doing the best what is required for your particular job profile. But job profiles and the job descriptions are not what is in your books, what you have do or what you have to do as a medical technology professional. Even I would say I have academicians sitting in front of me. They're also, they will definitely have some business angle with their institution, which are private universities, and again, no free lunch. So again, I'm representing myself from Jameson Institute, which is again a private institution, an approved EDIQUA certified institution in Geneva, Switzerland, but doing good job in terms of developing skills, the skill sets, the skills need gap, bridging the skills need gap in the industry. So what I just said is, do we want a job or do you want a career? Now, we need to be, young professionals need to be very aware of how to get a job, of course. You have to start earning, but how you can actually shape up and do an introspection, do a SWOT analysis of your own self. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What are the threats you have? I mean, this is a business concept, but you have to think of yourself as a business. Think of yourself as a professional. I'm not talking about any technology today much. You can ask me questions in the meeting today or after the meeting about your particular specialty area, but I would rather like to focus on the very generalistic skill sets which would make people employable. And coming from an academic institution which is in operations from for the last 15 years, the Jameson Institute, we have been shaping skills. But what we see is, apart from, even though there's a lot of skills need gap worldwide, the employability, especially in our country as well, is still needs to be shaped up. Still, we need to see how we can be more employable. So that's what I mean by the career, how you can have your career life cycle, how you can keep on the career cycle going on. That's my last slide. I'll come on the career cycle as well. So you look at your careers right away. You do a SWOT analysis of yourself. Look into where you want to be after 5 years. What you would like to acquire, not only from the hierarchy in a company, joining as an associate, joining and then further going on as an assistant manager, associate manager in a company, or you work in a technology side, you work as an associate, a junior technologist, a senior technologist, a lab manager, or a facility manager. So those are actually the administrative qualifications, or the administrative designations rather, which you would definitely acquire. But how you are compatible as your career with the society, how you are compatible with the public health system. Now, public health has come to the limelight, or come to the forefront rather, with COVID-19, and we have realized that public health needs to be on the front of the mind, not at the back of the mind of every healthcare professional, whether you are a physician, a surgeon, whether you are an operation theater technologist, or you are a medical laboratory technologist, or you're working in the lab, in a molecular lab, how your work or your daily activities are going to impact the public health enterprise of the country and worldwide, how you can contribute towards global health. And no, I'm not saying that this is okay how you just think. The thing is that this is going to shape your career. If as a medical technologist you have a good understanding of public health, you may have a career in the WHO. You may have actually a role in the UNESCO. You may have a role for you in various NGOs, which are bigger NGOs like the Bill and Melinda Gates, the Path, and there are so many other NGOs which are getting funding from the government as well as the industry, even from the bigger corporates as their corporate social responsibility funding, which is routed through different, say, NGOs to do good work in the public health field. So there's a lot of opportunity for people in the allied health sciences also to contribute in the public health domain, and not only in the hospital setup. Now, focus on you. You are an individual who has aspired to be a healthcare professional in any particular specialty. Now, you have a role, you will have a workplace which has to be green, which has to be friendly, which has to be supportive, which has to be inclusive of the workplace, and you will have a community. You're coming from a community. You have to feel settled, and you have to be socially connected. I'll come to that in much later as well in the career cycle. And you have to have a sense of belonging. We used to talk about the Maslow's, you would say, the hierarchy where you would reach to self actualization in your career, wherein you are satisfied that what you have done, say, for a decade or two in your life, and you're fully satisfied that I have really built up my career. So to reach to that, I mean, crossing the needs, your basic needs of bread and butter, basic needs of being a you would say an individual who can contribute in the society, but also from a psychological perspective, being accomplished and have acquired the highest level of satisfaction in your career. To reach to that, what do you have to do? Your role and your career has to be shaped by having opportunities to build skills. Now you have to look for an environment where your skills can be shaped on a day-to-day basis. Your skills or your career pathways have to be on a path of continuous learning. These days, with the newer technology, with the connected world, with the internet, with so many, you would say, free online programs, with so many opportunities of internships, just have that culture in you of calling people, getting in touch with people, getting in touch with your seniors, and telling them, I want to spend 5 days with you. I mean, how we have come up in our careers, in our educational institutions, is we go to school, we go to college, we finish our classes, we come back home. Well, that's a monotonous and a very age-old way of learning. You can't learn everything in the classroom. Your professor or your mentor is not going to give you all the learning in one go in the classroom of an hour, wherein, of course, you do a lot of musti as well. But so again, you get distracted with your peers, other activities, your young age. So all that actually limits the learning which you have to acquire in these young years, where learning is easier. I mean, when you reach in your late 40s and you actually hit the middle age, the learning, of course, takes a backside. The priorities change in life, and even your learning abilities actually, the curve is not as that good. So you take a longer time to learn newer skills. So look for opportunities. Our country doesn't have much of an opportunity like the West, where I have seen people working as assistants to their professors. They work as on teaching assistantships. So look in your faculty, look in your department where there is a research project going on. Go for assistantships in those research projects. And those of you who are doing master's degrees, or those who are you doing PhDs, I always recommend students that don't be a part of your own project only. Be a part of somebody else's project as well. Tomorrow you need to have things published. Be your first author and be somebody's second author and third author. You need also to communicate with the industry that what you have done in your academia is much more than what you were required, the basic minimum for actually passing that particular program. How would you bridge the gap of somebody coming for an interview for the same job, that I have an experience and he's shifting jobs and you're there for your first job? So how you can circumvent the limitations of not having experience? You get that from assistantships, you get that from internships. Go to different institutions. You're welcome. I am associated with HCG Cancer Hospital as well. We welcome interns during their course, during their masters, during their bachelors. And even at James Institute, we take medical writers on assistantships. So we just take that opportunity of reaching out to people to shape up your skills. So all that is important these days, much more than it used to be before, because it's much more competitive when you will hit the job market. Now, this is a pain area for the industry. And that's why I wanted to highlight this area to the students, because we are oblivious of what the employer actually, the difficulty an employer is facing. Uh, I take interviews, I'm taking interviews for the last 2 decades now. What you realize from people coming for interviews is, where is the employability? Who are the people we employ? What are the skill sets? Everybody comes with a master's degree, a PhD degree, a bachelor's degree, and of course, if it's a technology, a medical technology role, nobody from the art stream is going to come and apply. If it's a job in the pharmaceutical industry, where I've taken the maximum interviews, if for research, for clinical research, somebody who's not having the basic understanding of clinical research or clinical trials usually is not called for the interview or may not come for the interview. But where is the employability? Who are the people who are employable? It's much more than the applied knowledge, the knowledge of your particular specialty. That's what the employers in the private sector. Now, I'm not talking about the public sector. Governments are not going to generate too much of employment for the masses. You're not looking for always, and very few people or a very small percentage of the population gets into government jobs, which are safe havens. But we have to struggle and we have to prove our mettle in the private setup where there are business houses where they have a conflict of interest with the financials, and you have to respect the conflict of interest ethically, and in a very justified manner you have to contribute to their business, doing good for the society and good for the healthcare. So the employability lies on the workplace skills you have. I would first and foremost highlight on the communication skills. Where we actually face difficulty is people might be knowing a lot, students might have learned a lot, students have studied a lot. How you articulate, how you communicate, and by communicating I only don't mean that you communicate verbally, that you can speak well. Of course today's generation speaks very well. We had to struggle with it, we had to learn how to speak. We were not very good speakers to begin with, and we had not even learned the art of listening. The art of listening is very important. You listen and then come up with your interpretation or your thought process. Today's generation has a lot of exposure. My children speak much better than I do because what they're exposed to is a lot of information from the internet, relevant information. I'm not talking about the video games they play, but even relevant information. So they can articulate a knowledge much better verbally. But it also means communication means that what you have communicated to your peers, what you have communicated in the social circles. By the social circles I don't mean Facebook. By social circles I mean academic social circles, academic social media. How much of your interaction has been on, say, if you're into medical lab technology, how much of a discussion you have entered into on LinkedIn or various focus groups into medical lab technology? How much of an interaction you have with your superiors? They can actually be the connections for you for getting your first job or actually getting you a better pay scale because they know you, that you have better skill sets. So communication, how much have you published? That's very, very important. Even into medical technology, it's very important that you publish. You publish review articles. You can start with review articles. You don't always say, "Oh, I don't have a research in front of me. I don't have," you would say, a lot of data available with me which I can analyze and present, and I don't have the skill sets." So you go to your mentors, you go to your university professors, you go to your teachers who are training you on multiple platforms or outside of your university as well, and take guidance how I can publish, how I can get relevant, and how I can start with a review article, scale up to a systematic review, and then during my dissertations, how I can choose a dissertation which is not just for the sake of doing a thesis or doing a dissertation. It is for the sake of publishing. It's for the sake of knowing something newer. So that is what transformation in the educational system as well, and our mentors in the educational institutions also have to take into consideration. And then the critical skills, the critical thinking skills, they come over time when you know about research, when you communicate, when you know about research methodologies. The critical thinking skills, the analytical thinking skills, they come into play and they shape you up. The interpersonal skills, I'm not talking about whether you're friendly with your peers or not. I'm not talking about whether you're friendly in the society or not. I'm talking about interpersonal skills at your workplace. You have to have the requisite soft skills, which is having an impact on the employability. The effective relationships, whether you would be, there are cues when you go for an interview. There are salient cues which emanate from you, and the employers ultimately understand that do you have those personal qualities. And last but not the least, the youngsters know it better. The technology use is very, very important these days. Uh, you know, even would you believe me? I put the title for today's seminar, or I would say webinar, on Chat GPT. I said, let me try what is going to come up. What are people thinking about? What does the literature say? Now you realize you won't really. I mean, what I'm speaking just now, it just threw it in front of me. Even though I'm speaking my mind out, but I could read my mind on a screen. That this is, yes, exactly. This is what I want to speak today. This is what I want to focus today. That is the power of artificial intelligence. It actually, it's not the all of intelligence, but it is still artificial intelligence. But that artificial intelligence, that data sciences, the machine learning technologies, even though I'm using very keywords, I may not be an expert in these fields, but these are the things which are completely transforming the job market. Now, people write on the internet, oh, artificial intelligence, or things like Chat GPT or machine learning, they're going to take many jobs off, and many jobs are going to be redundant. Yes, there are, but there are many jobs which would be actually created. So being aware of newer technologies in your particular technology, in your particular specialty area, is very, very important. And then you see something like systems thinking here. What is this systems thinking? Now you think of yourself and your workplace as a system. It's the four wheels of your car which have to work together as a system for your vehicle to run. So you have to think of the entire system where you would be contributing. So that thinking in the workplace, to contribute in that workplace, is very, very important. Now, if you're working as a lab technologist, what more can you do to the system than just giving a report to the clinician? That is the question you have to ask yourself. How you can contribute more. Say, if you have to release a verbal report to a clinician, how you can discuss the report much more than a simple or an age-old lab technologist would deliver the report. So that is what you have to innovate in yourself. How you can analyze the report, give the interpretation, not from a clinical perspective, but from a systems perspective, from a statistical perspective. How you would contribute to keeping the statistics of your lab, how you would understand how the quality systems are defined in the lab, and how statistics is involved there, how the understanding of the various quality systems is important, and different, you would say, accreditation guidelines, or the accreditation, say ISO or NABL, so all those, or CAP, if I talk about my lab, so how those are important. And that's where the systems thinking comes into play, and you think like a system and not like one block in the system. Now, this is a very general list of the skill sets from the World Economic Forum, and we know about this agency. Now, if you look at the left, you see the type of skills which are required: the problem solving, the self management, working with the people, you have to be compatible, and the technology use and development. So these are the main areas where you have to work on yourself in your specialty area to actually try and be much better than others. Now, this is a very critical, or not a very, you would say, healthy way of saying they're better than others, but that is what is the reality. You have to be competitive. So you have to have in the problem solving skills, when you're going for jobs, when you're going and shaping up your career, you have to have that analytical thinking and innovation. Now, now you would say, how do I have that analytical thinking? Now, if you're doing a dissertation, are you getting your statistics done by a statistician? Probably yes. No, you do your elementary statistics yourself. Sit with a statistician not to get your statistics done. Sit with a statistician to know the elements of statistics, know the basics of spreadsheet, the Excel sheet, the very basic of analysis you can do. Know about some of the free softwares. Now I would say are, but yes, it's possible at your age to learn the different statistical or biostatistical tools to actually contribute later on in your life. Now you would say, as a medical technologist, why is this important for me? It's going to be important tomorrow when in your lab you would be asked to understand the moving averages of the data which is coming out of your machines and see what is the error rate in your system. Tomorrow you would be asked in your lab to be compliant with Six Sigma and even Seven Sigma. I don't know whether you heard about that, but this is the quality measure where people would expect you to have a 1 in a million error rate, and there you need to understand the data which you yourself create. So you need to have that analytical thinking, innovation, and an understanding of the data. Data science is very important for any professional, of course, in the healthcare setup as well. The complex problem solving skills. Now, these are very generic terms, but they would mean, if you try to search about them in your particular specialty, they would mean, they're general terms as well, they're general skill sets as well, but they will have different meanings for different specialities, because allied healthcare is pretty broad, and you would really, I would recommend you do your own research on those particular areas. But yes, list out these things. They're not from me, they're from the World Economic Forum, and this is where you need to be aware of. Now, coming to healthcare. Now, what is happening in healthcare? Where are we at the moment? We primarily focus on the healthcare services. The Red Cross, we focus on the areas, the healthcare delivery in a very conventional, say in a hospital setup, in a primary care, in a secondary care, or a tertiary care healthcare setup. And we know of, say, the doctors, the lab technicians, we know of the medical technologists in the radiology department, we know the healthcare management people who manage the shop floor. Of course, there are some business development people also who get us business, but that's a very, in the nutshell, it has evolved. It has actually moved out of the limitations of running a hospital or running a healthcare setup. The digital technologies are making it much more global. In health, what is more important now are two things: home and voice. People are looking at health at home. People want to be treated as much at home. And COVID has given that a big boost, and people stayed at home and stayed healthy at home. Home is the best place for you to maintain health. And your home has to be healthy, your family has to be healthy. So digital technologies are taking health to your home. People are more focused towards self-care and self-management. It's not that you do self-medication. It's a negative term, and it's always been told not to do that. But the digital technologies have made it possible for healthcare professionals to make the health delivery possible at your doorstep. So this is the change which is happening. The consultations which are happening from home, the treatment management which is happening from your home, the home care which is being managed by a hospital from a remote location. And you can go to that extent that the digital technologies have advanced, even to the extent that we have EICUs. By EICUs, you mean you don't have all the specialists, or you don't have the intensivists always available in an ICU, and they manage it. And there's a company, I think I forgot a name, and they have carved a business model out of it, wherein they hang cameras on the top of the beds in the ICU, and there is an intensivist managing the patient from somewhere else. And there might be a junior in the ICU as a physician, or even the nurse practitioners are so advanced these days that they can actually get the recommendations or the guidance from a senior intensivist from a remote location. And they have created a cloud of intensivists which can actually do ICU job across the country. So that is the level of technological advancements which have percolated into healthcare delivery. Now we do remote robotic surgeries. That's where things are going in different hospitals. You might be in Delhi and the surgeon might be in Delhi and the surgery might be happening in Bangalore. So with the 5G, it's possible now because the time lag is almost negligible. Now look at the Google Lens and look at the Microsoft HoloLens. You have two surgeons operating together when the second is not there. The second is somewhere else, right? But the surgeon who is operating actually feels that the second surgeon is in front of him. So that is the virtual reality which is coming to the operating rooms, not to talk about consultation rooms. That is where the metaverse is going to ultimately take you. So healthcare in the healthcare delivery institutions is going to be affected by these AI technologies, by these metaverse type technologies a lot. So you need to prepare now. You need to get ready now in your institutions. But how? There's no textbook for it. There's no manual. There's no PDF which is going to come from your colleague. Where are you going to get it? You're going to get it from the internet, plus you're going to get it from the internships which you can look for yourself. So you look for as many internships in your institutions where you would like your career to shape up. So go to those places. Don't shy away from going to anybody 10 times in a hospital or in a workplace and say, I need your 5 minutes. I want to discuss what's happening here. I want to be an intern here for 10 days because I have a summer vacation. That's important. Now, the other thing is the population. The concepts of global health, population health, has evolved, especially over the last few decades. But now, the newer concept of planetary health is coming into place. Now, you'd say, what is this? It's the health of the planet. The health is coming out of your primary care, secondary care, tertiary care, to ultimately the health of the environment. If you're into public health, you need to be aware of the environment. You need to be aware of the climate changes. That is where maybe your first job is going to be. That is probably your career is going to be. So that, because if you're really aware of what is happening on the climate change forums worldwide, what they are discussing, it's really a pain area for global public health, global economic forums, because it has a major economic impact. So that is probably, maybe you develop interest, maybe you get internships, maybe you actually work into population health, global health, or even planetary health. Maybe you contribute on one side, on the health side, on the other side, on the ecosystem, on the environmental health as well. So be cognizant of planetary health as well in the healthcare domain. So looking at the workforce, what is happening with the workforce? There's no one size fits all in treatments anymore. There is no one person treating a patient anymore. If you say that, there's an over specialization. If you go to a rheumatologist or you go to an oncologist, he may not be able, or he may actually, even if he may be able, he may not actually treat you complete. He may refer you to a cardiologist, he may refer to you a nephrologist, he may refer to you to a psychologist, even to a psychiatrist. So he may get multiple consultations for you. And sometimes they may, especially what happens in oncology, which is important, he may actually sit in a tumor board, in maybe a virtual tumor board these days, in a very multidisciplinary team to actually make a treatment plan. So having treatment even in hospitals nowadays is more of consultations by multiple specialties. So you need to be aware of where you're going to contribute. If you're working as a medical physicist, if you're working as a technologist, how you can contribute in that multidisciplinary team. If you're a psychologist, say we have in our hospital psycho-oncologists, they sit on almost every tumor board. So they shape up the patient psychologically and make the patient aware that the treatment is good. Otherwise, in oncology, people lose hope, and that losing hope has a negative impact on the treatment outcome as well. So, coming from different specialities and contributing towards the larger goal of patient care or healthcare delivery is important for you to understand and carve a niche out of it. And then ultimately, going from bottom to top, what we are focusing on is disease prevention and health promotion. That is where the global economic forums put in most of the money, because treatment is expensive, prevention is not that expensive. So you need to be cognizant of how you can actually contribute, or maybe tomorrow carve a niche for yourself into disease prevention, into health promotion. Now you can learn more about these are big topics and big subject. Just take these keywords and start researching about it. That's what I want to. I mean, I can't say everything, and I can't be a specialist in everything. I can't be giving all the information in one go. So even if I have to search about all these things, I'll go to the internet. I'll learn about myself what these areas are. All these images are not mine. I've taken yesterday night from the internet by using keywords, and there are some skill sets are there as well. I mean, you need to learn how to reach to the information. You need to know about, if you've learned literature review or a literature search, you need to know about the Boolean operators, how to reach to the research topic which is the best for you. What's going on in your mind, the relevant information should come from the internet as well. Otherwise, you'll end up playing a video game or end up watching a movie. Now, what more is happening in the healthcare delivery space? What are the changes happening in healthcare delivery? This you need to be aware of. There's something called precision medicine. This is focused, personalized medicine, genomic based medicine, the medicine which is based on biomarkers. There are biomarkers, or what you can say surrogate biomarkers, which can have an impact or on the understanding of a disease process when you cannot directly have you would say the information about the disease. Even your simple x-ray is a biomarker, your CT scan is a biomarker, your MRI is a biomarker, your lab test is a biomarker. So then those biomarkers which are focused, those biomarkers which give you information about what is the type of treatment, the personalized treatment. No one drug fits all, or no one particular therapeutic fits all. So you have to tailor the treatment for every patient. If you're from a pharmacology background or you have some understanding of pharmacology, there's something called pharmacogenomics, an understanding of the genomics, how you would react to a particular drug. To be very simple, you all have taken paracetamol, acetaminophen. I never get a relief of headache with acetaminophen. I have to take an NSAID, and I have to take an ibuprofen. So and somebody else would say, I'm taking cetirizine and I get sleep. Somebody else would say, I never get sleep with it. So these are very simple day-to-day medicines which we use. But same way, even in oncology space, which are the patients who would respond to one particular drug based on the biomarker. So that is where, and even this is not only in oncology, I'm talking about oncology because that's the background I come from, but in every specialty of medicine, the biomarkers or precision medicine is making a revolution. The other thing which is important is we were always in hospitals, in healthcare delivery, thinking about a patient who is sick and has to be treated and has to go home happily without the disease. Now that concept is redundant. That concept was in itself reductionist. The concept has to be wellness when you talk about health. So that is where the healthcare delivery is moving, and that's what this. If you look at the health for all, the definition of health, it doesn't talk about treatment. It doesn't talk about treating a patient or curing a disease. It talks about living with the disease. It talks about living a good quality of life. Health is good quality of life. And I mean, you can read the full definition of health, but it's more about quality of life rather than not having a disease. Health does not mean no disease. It means good quality of life. And that's why in the healthcare space, you have to think how we can improve upon the quality of life. And then the innovations in medical technology, all the newer technologies which are coming every other day, and even the older technology, the newer versions. So you have to be aware of everything what is happening in your particular specialty. And yes, interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary team care. That is important. That is where the healthcare delivery is moving towards, not a single practitioner working on a table, single alone and doing healthcare delivery. It has to be a team care. Then data proficiency, communication skills, community outreach, technological proficiency, interprofessional education, rather knowing something about the other person as well. The medical lab technologist knowing something about the radiology technology as well. That goes a long way, and I will tell you, I sharing from my career progression, coming from as a physician, as a pathologist, and knowing about knowing about pharmacology in principle, knowing about the preclinical or non-clinical pharmacology, that actually shaped up my career rather than knowing everything about my particular specialty. So that is very important, knowing about interprofessional skills, acknowledging you don't need to be master. Sometimes, I mean, the term is called, we used to be taught in school, don't be a jack of all trades, you have, and be a master of none. It's better be a jack of all trades and not be a master of everything. That is the in thing. You don't have to be, you cannot be a master of everything. You can never ever boast in your particular specialty also these days. The level of information which is there in any particular specialty, I don't think any sane person or specialist is going to say that I know everything about my particular specialty. But being that jack of all trades gives you an edge. Being that jack of all trades, not all trades, but a few trades, I'm still getting consultancies. Being in my pathology, I'm getting consultancies from the pharmacology side or the medical device side who want me to contribute for their regulatory submissions. So I'll give an example. I was thinking of buying a scanner, a digital pathology scanner for my upcoming lab. Now, while doing the discussions with that technology company, they said, no, we're going to half your price for our scanner, and you help us with our FDA submissions, because we don't find that regulatory knowledge in anybody around, especially in the medical space. We may have a lot of regulatory people from the regulatory side, but we don't see anybody who has married the regulatory and the clinical side together. So that is what actually helps you in the long run, knowing something about somebody else as well. You don't go and actually poke on somebody and say, I want to fish what you're doing, but trying to understand, because you're all on a step ladder. You're on one step, he's on some other step. You are on an assembly line in a factory where you're doing healthcare delivery. So knowing about what is happening behind you and what is happening ahead of you, this is like a relay race. If you're not in sync with the person in a relay race with a person who is behind you and a person who is ahead of you, you will not be able to contribute. You will not be able to reach the finishing line. So carve your niches in your career by also knowing what is happening in some other career. And then bottom is for the academicians. What are the implications for the training tomorrow's healthcare professionals? And that's for the academicians to know that you have to be inspired, you have to build in, you have to foster them, and you have to create that student-driven learning. That's the most important thing. You don't have to create a learning which is mentor driven, which is driven by the healthcare institutions or academic institutions. It has to be driven by the students. There may be 30 students in a class. 30 students may have different aptitude. They may be interested into different research projects, and they may actually shape up their career in those particular research projects, and they actually may be different segments of the same industry. So that is why the mentors also, who may have been taught a decade back or 2 decades back, and they also have to keep themselves updated that what the youngsters have to face tomorrow. Now, again, from a nice literature article which I could find is 21st century healthcare innovation requires a special set of skills that are typically not a part of a university based education. Uh, I mean, I'm sorry to say I'm presenting in front of a good university academic setup, but in our university-based education, in our UGC setup, in our in our planning of the curriculum, we don't have. What we see is we see the technical, clinical, economic. Economic may also be a fringe sometimes. We don't usually do that as well, but we may focus more on scientific aspects, engineering aspects, clinical, general literacy, or the economic forums. What we may actually not do is communication, even though every institution may say we are working on the soft skills, we are working on the managerial skills, we are working on the financial skills, but real problem solving skills, the hands-on trainings, the research projects, I always stress upon, because I've tried carving my niche into research. So research is important. Research in your mindset. Every particular topic on your textbook, there is an area of research where you can contribute. If you look at the book of medicine, every line in any book of medicine is somebody's life. It's somebody's research for the entire life, or a major part of somebody's life. So you have to contribute that one line in that textbook if you really have to do good and be, you would say, to really contribute towards sciences. And that would actually carve your careers as well much better than others, and which may follow the conventional route. Then the personal skills, building at the character skills, the employability in terms of interpersonal responsibility, the leadership. That's very, very important. Being a leader rather than being a follower. Now, you don't always take a flag and sit in front of everybody. You have those listening skills, you have those resilience, you have that absorbing skill, you have that analytical skill to lead a project rather than only working on the building blocks of a project. You may work on some project as building blocks, you may lead some of the projects, but you have to be a leader in your mindset that in your particular specialty or interest area, you can lead a project. And then self-initiative. Self-initiatives you can learn right from now. Again, going to your professors, going to the industry, talking to industry people, that where can I contribute, where I can spend time with you. Those initiatives are also important. And lot happening, lot of disruption happening as transformative digital skills for healthcare. Now you need to understand, at least begin with, what are the basic, what is the nomenclature changing. The terms which we used to use for something else before have a different connotation, have a different meaning now. Now, artificial intelligence, machine learning, you would say data sciences, algorithms, all those have changed. Algorithms, we would think of mathematics only previously. Now, algorithms are everywhere. Now, how the algos are shaping into every technology and also into the different healthcare technologies is a big thing. You need to be cognizant about those things. You need to be tech savvy. You need to be communicative. You need to be on LinkedIn. You need to be on such focused platforms where you can share learning, absorb learning, get learning, contribute and make connections. Be a social person in the academic circles is very important right from now. And of course, the health economics, both microeconomics as well as macroeconomics. The microeconomics, the very small things which shape up the economics of a household, of your home, of your own self, of your company, and then having a larger macroeconomic perspective as well. Health economics is for everybody these days. Health economics, commerce is for everybody. You cannot dissociate yourself and say, I'm doing a lab technology and I'm not aware of whether what is the economics and what is the profit loss of my particular, or which particular economic theory is going to help me and better the business of my particular workplace. We need to know about digital marketing. We need to know about how marketing is changing completely. We need to know about how business development is changing completely. The business development sectors of your workplace may tomorrow want you to contribute for generating business as well, because they might be knowing business, you know the techniques. Both need to marry, and then business is going to come. So you need to be aware of those skills. You need to be knowing those skills right in your formative days, right in your education days. You need to have a focus on business. You need to have a focus on finances, economics, healthcare delivery, and of healthcare technologies as well. Now coming to where you can actually have a place for yourself. Even though now I'm integrating everything, even though you might be coming from different technologies, what are the key sectors in the healthcare services where you will work? It's healthcare services and facilities like hospitals, public health centers, primary, secondary, tertiary hospitals, even the virtual hospitals, the virtual healthcare delivery institutions, those as well. The medical devices and equipment companies, the hospital supplier manufacturers. It's not that you do medical technology and you only have to go to the hospital and work as a particular as a technologist. You can work into data sciences, into medical device company. Why do they need you? Because the nomenclature, the understanding of the technical terms which you have, they don't have. They don't find it with somebody who just has an MBA or somebody who has come from a BCom or an MCom background. They need somebody who is technical and has a business understanding as well. So there also you can carve your niches and you can do much better than what others are doing, which are coming from a pure business background. Then medical insurance wants you. Medical services want you. The managed care, the home care, they want you. The pharmaceutical is a big, big opportunity. I mean, I carved my niche into pharmaceuticals, even though being from a medical and a pathology background. And today I'm looked at one of the very few who knows clinical sciences, pathology, and pharmacology. And even preclinical pharmacology I've worked with both on the humans in research as well as clinical practice, but more so into animal houses as well. So I've spent so many days and so much of time working on rats, mice, and hamsters and beagle dogs. So all those. So today I'm getting even people try to consult how we would treat the cancers even in the veterinary space. So different people who are trying to develop different devices. So once you diversify yourself, the opportunities increase. So the more myopic you become in your career in these years, the less of opportunities you will have. So look at data sciences, look at newer technologies, look at business. Business is very important. Look at business right from the beginning. Look at communication skills. Develop your communication skills right in the beginning. Employability will come of its own. Now, where do we get such type of training? There are multiple platforms these days. University is going to give you opportunity. Your mentors are going to give you opportunities. Look at different MOOCs platforms. You must have heard about this is massive open online learning, where you have companies like edX, Coursera, different such companies, and even I don't know how much it's developed. There's an Indian government funded institution called Swayam as well, which is doing MOOCs, which is a government funded or a government agency as a MOOC platform. So they are the places where you can easily, on a free basis, you can get learning, you can get those skills, and you can go to a company that, okay, I did something in this in theoretical, now I want to go to this company and spend my summer vacation there and learn something on the shop floor, learning it on the ground. So that's what is going to help. And then there are paid institutions as well, online institutions like James Institute, who have been doing that for last 14 years and bridging the skills need gap. So all that you have to integrate with your main street curriculum or mainstream degrees in your life at the moment. Now this is the career cycle I was talking about. I don't know whether the image is a little blurred, but you can see all four corners are telling you gain experience. Now, how do you do that? I mean, I've just come out of college. I've just entering into the professional arena, and everybody is talking about what experience do you have. Your research project, your thesis, your dissertation is the first experience you will have. What have you done there? So assess yourself, celebrate the accomplishment you have done with your mentors on the dissertation, choose your path. That is your first experience. Gain that experience, do that, connect with the industry, go into the industry, find internships. You're definitely going to find internships. There's nobody averse to finding, giving you interns or giving you internship. You're not asking for any money. I mean, private sector may not always. Some may, definitely some may pay you as well. But you're not asking for money all the time. So spend that time getting those skill sets, getting the internships in different. So when you land up into when you qualify, when you get your degree in hand, you have some experience with you which comes from the industry, and that's where the experience matters. Even if you're training like a laboratory technologist, during your training, go to a lab and tell them, I want to be an observer. And sometimes, we also are looking for interns to come because we want them to sit and collect data and write data for us. That becomes a symbiotic relationship with that particular institution as well, because they get a very free resource. We make you sit day and night doing free work for us, but that's no free lunch. You are contributing and you are learning as well. So build that symbiotic relationship with the industry. And then you should know how to present yourself. Seek your mentor's help, how to write a resume, make a video resume as well, make a LinkedIn profile as well, be active on social, develop a network. You have to have a network with the seniors in the industry. Make the seniors feel that you're contributing academically on discussion boards and discussion forums. You will be picked up. There may be an opportunity that you may be picked up by people who are looking for, it's not only difficult for people to find a job, it's equally or more difficult for the industry to find the right person for their job. So be there with your experience. And of course, create your own opportunities. Don't always think that job is going to come to you. Think of engaging in your network. Think of being an entrepreneur yourself. Think of having, if you're worked as or trained as a lab technologist, you can tomorrow have a lab. So that should always be on the front of your mind rather than at the back of your mind. That is the need of the hour for the industry. There's a need of more job creators than job takers. And the cycle goes on. Thank you.